What's going on, everybody? LK here, back at it again with another video, and today some more Dragon Ball for y'all. So it's been a couple of months since Koichi and Fenrich dropped their first tier list for the game. This is another Japanese tier list that just dropped a couple of days ago. This is a combination of Aqua, Mado, and Tachikawa. You've probably heard of those three players. They're three very high level players from Japan. Now again, one thing about this season is that, of course, because of the circumstances right now, there haven't been a lot of big events. So opinions in each scene vary a lot on how the characters are. The US, Europe, and Japan have very different views on the game right now. And since I haven't really seen US tier list recently, I think people are still kind of thinking it over a little bit. I wanted to share this tier list with y'all that you see behind me. Again, if you like the content I'm putting out, please like or subscribe to the channel. It really helps out the channel, helps the channel grow, helps people see more of the videos, and I would really appreciate it. Thanks a lot. Alright, so let's hop right into it. So again, this is not going to be like my end of season 2 tier list where I go super in depth on every character, why I think they are where they are, their good points, their bad points, stuff like that. This is kind of like big picture. It's still kind of early. I don't totally agree with this either, but it's good to see what people are thinking, especially in different regions, because each region has kind of its own style of play. So specifically, if we're talking about Japanese play, they usually find and like using what we generally call meta characters, but they've also like found that characters are meta before. So for example, when the game dropped, yeah, people played 16 here, but a ton of people played 16 in Japan. That's just like one easy, quick example. Generally, what I notice from Japanese play is that there are many uncommon characters, so people have problems talking about them. And what I mean by that is, like, people just don't play some characters. Like Zamasu is pretty uncommon, Piccolo is pretty uncommon. You might remember during like season 1 or early season 2, Japanese players were practicing together to get ready for US players like Hook and God, my teammate Apology Man, stuff like that, because we had strong Piccolos and we're used to playing against Piccolo, but they had basically no Piccolos except for one, Paka from Fighting Tuesday. They tend to use the stronger characters for obvious reasons, right? They're competitive, they're trying to win, they're trying to do what the game tells them to do pretty much to try to solve the problems of the game. Nothing wrong with that. So again, instead of looking at all the characters in depth, I'm going to be talking like pretty big picture. I'll be talking about a couple specific characters because this is mostly in line with how I feel. I'm going to be cross-referencing my opinions during this as well, but again, I'm only going to be talking about how they're feeling about the game right now at like a big picture, not going too in depth on this one. So first, as usual, before anything, we have to talk about the lettering. So remember that the letters actually do matter. I know there are tier haters who are like, these things don't mean anything, but they actually do mean something. These tiers are actually pretty wide. This is actually probably the widest tier list I've seen for the season so far. Most people had the tiers pretty close in season 3. I also think the tiers are pretty close in this season as well. This has from S to D, which is a pretty wide spread. There's no for lack of a better word, like nuanced things. So like there's no like S- or A+. I usually like putting like those distinctions, those slight distinctions between tiers. And I did watch a little bit of their tier video, which I will link in the description below. It's on Aqua's YouTube. It is all in Japanese, so if you don't understand Japanese, then you can enjoy listening to their voices, I guess. But they do talk about, in a kind of a roundtable format, why they feel the way they do. And in some cases, there are characters where they just settle on a position because nobody agrees. So for example, they were talking about Trunks, and they're like, isn't Trunks A tier, or is he S tier, or is he A tier, or is he S tier? And they kind of settled on him being S tier. Similar, Hit was same thing, like, is Hit S tier, is he A tier? Tachikawa said Hit was S tier. They were like, well, you play him, so they put him in S tier. So the first major point of this tier list, finally getting into it, is the S tier. And I want to talk about these characters kind of, right? We have base Vegeta, Bardock, Yamcha, Trunks, Hit, KID BUU, Teen Gohan, GT. So out of these characters, depending on who you talk to, if you think of it from like the perspective of everybody who plays the game, from last season, base Vegeta, Bardock, KID BUU, Teen Gohan, and GT. So 5 of these characters basically remained in S tier, depending on who you talk to, right? So from my perspective, I thought Base Vegeta was like a top 7 character. Sonic Fox thought Base Vegeta was a top 3 character. Most people thought Bardock was top 5 last season. And then KID BUU, Teen Gohan, and GT Goku were the agreed top 3 characters. And people would argue like who's the best? Is KID BUU the best? Is GT the best? Like that's the argument, right? So these characters actually kind of maintain their position. I mostly agree with this. Base Vegeta is clearly very strong. They put up classic let's buff top tier characters, and they buffed Base Vegeta this season. Probably the most notable buff is to his level 1. His level 1 does way more damage if it hits from high in the air, so if he has to jump to the top of the screen, he'll do more damage than if he kind of just does it from the ground. It's easily accessible too, which is very, very nice for him. And he's got some like small quality of life things. Bardock, probably this, outside of him just still being mostly the same character, it also comes from his new assist, specifically the Bardock B assist that everyone memes. It's a really good assist though, and it helps basically every character, and it makes Bardock just really, really flexible. Like you can still literally put him on every team. I don't think so totally for Base Vegeta. Like you have to build a little bit around him. You have to be sure that you can make mix-ups around his A assist, which is not necessarily easy to do, but Bardock you can always, like, there's always a way to make a team with Bardock, which is really important. Yamcha has been always good in the game. Besides he got buffed a little bit too. I thought he was like A+ last season. I think the 214L buff in the air, so his Gale Claws in the air, that's a big buff for him. It used to like kind of clash, now it just wins. But another thing too is that he has a beam assist now, and of course, as we remember from season 2, beam assists definitely run this game. Beam assists are super, super, super strong. So now he's way more flexible, because there were points where, say for my case, right, I was playing Bardock, Trunks, Yamcha, and I would have loved to have had a beam. Especially if I was going to drop Trunks, I would love to have a beam and keep Yamcha, but I wanted the full screen control. His assist, while being really good and practically a top tier assist, doesn't give you that. But now you can pick between each one, which is really, really, really good. Of course, it's my boy Trunks. I've been saying he was S tier for a long time, but generally not like true S tier, like S minus, you know, like better than A+ characters, but worse than like the true S and S+ tiers from last season. He's another example of a complete package that you could put on a lot of teams. So his flip change makes it so he could do mix-ups with basically any assist. He still has amazing corner carry. His B and C assists are really good, and also because of his flip change, his hit confirm ability is much, much higher, and everything just costs less. So his mid-screen level 3s cost less. He has more opportunities to hit you, stuff like that. He's a really, really solid character. His neutral is mad good. He's kind of technical, and while it's easier to put him on a team, it's still like, you know, you still have to learn him. You still have to practice your own individual mix-ups for your assists. Like, it's really hard for somebody to be like, this is how you do Trunks mix-ups, because you have to practice with the individual assists. No one works the same, but he's still a very strong character and adds a lot to the team. Hit is the mystery, okay? So I don't actually know about Hit like that. I heard a bunch of complaints when this season dropped about him, so I'm actually kind of surprised to see him like this. Again, I said at the beginning of the video, but Tachikawa pretty much said that he just felt like Hit was S tier this time. I definitely want to ask Hit players about how they feel about him, because this is a really big surprise to me. So now we move on to the old big three, right? KID BUU, Teen Gohan, GT Goku. So we're talking about season 2. I thought the literal order was KID BUU, GT, Teen Gohan, top 3 characters. Everyone agreed these 3 were the top 3. Again, the order was kind of debated. KID BUU is the character that could not be nerfed. Like, I definitely talk about Adult Gohan never getting nerfed. Adult Gohan's always top tier, right? Classic Adult Gohan hater, okay. But KID BUU really, really just cannot be nerfed without literally cutting off his legs, it feels like. So I thought he was top tier already in this season as well. Same with Teen Gohan. Teen Gohan is essentially the same character minus snapping you to death. It feels like from playing him. Now GT is the interesting one, and they actually debated this because they mostly, and I think this is a theme for the tier list. This tier list takes into account like everything, absolutely everything for the character. So for example, I personally usually do like character power tier list, and then I'll talk about assists separately usually. And you know, in our discussions we could talk about how good the assists are and stuff like that. But it seems for this tier list they're including everything the character could do, including assists. And The GT assist was not touched, right? That is a thing that you all hate, but I love. The thing that stops you from jumping. One of my favorite things in the game is things that stop you from jumping. He still has that amazing assist, and despite the changes to him, because he did get hit pretty hard, that assist is one of the main reasons why they still think he's S tier. They're kind of thinking like he's probably like A+ tier for real, but that assist just gives him the extra bump. Like, it's still that good. As far as GT specifically, probably his real biggest loss is his flexibility. As we all know, he was on many tournament teams, and he was on the championship team for the World Tour, right? And Evo. So he's been around. One of the biggest things about him is that he's really flexible. He could be on basically any team, and you could do mix-ups with like almost any assist. So he was really flexible. In this patch, he is much less flexible. He's more of a giver, I would say. So that assist gives characters a lot. He needs to be built around a little bit if you want to do like offense with him. He still has really good mix-ups, like with Pogo, let's say, but you need to make sure you have an assist that lets him do that, because if you don't, then I don't know, you got like Dragon Rush and overhead system mechanic stuff, I guess. He also still does a lot of damage. Like, he can still do Spirit Bomb extensions, stuff like that, but he doesn't get the super good mix-up alone. So overall, like, honestly, these three characters, the KID BUU, Teen Gohan, GT, I would kind of say they were like S+, and then there was like an S under them of like Adult Gohan and Bardock last season. But I think probably one of the good things about this is that there is no S+. Like, they would definitely say, oh, there's a character. There are characters that exist that are above like literally everyone else. So it's kind of a good thing. All right, let's look at the A tier characters. So to be honest, when I look at this, I see a lot of A+ characters here, and I think there's a differential between A+ and A. I will note, I should have said this at the beginning, but they do mention that there is an order horizontally. There is an order. So like Adult Gohan is better than Base Goku, is better than 21, is better than Super Broly, blah blah blah. So there's a few things here. So Base Goku, of course, got really popular last season. I sort of feel like he's like an S- character. Like Adult Gohan, probably from Adult Gohan to Super Broly, I would say are all S- characters for free. And of course, if you're talking about the US scene, at least, I don't know how Europe feels, but talking about the US scene, it's a lot of people feel like Z Broly is straight up like S tier, straight up flat, no minus, no nothing, just in there. Cooler is again, he's like probably the #1 character of, oh my god, this character is really good, nobody plays him though. He has all the stuff, he has all the juice, we just need somebody to do it, somebody else. There's always a couple, like, so of course, I've talked about him on this channel before. There's EU's Kaiden, there's Japan's Dogura. I can't really think of a cooler player in the States offhand right now. Janemba, always been the potential character. I've been talking about him on this channel a little bit too, how I think he's sick. I think he has potential. SSJ Vegeta, basically staying where he is. The assist is still amazing. I think he's better than A, of course. This A tier thing is probably up until Kefla. I can't change my mind. Probably up until Kefla is like A+, and then like Goku Black and down would be A. The big one in that kind of A group, I think, more than anything else, would be SSJ Goku, because SSJ Goku, most people would argue that he was probably like S- at the highest, or A+ at the lowest last patch. And this is in order, by the way, so this would be saying that Goku Black is better than Super Saiyan Goku, which is a big thing. A lot of players did drop SSJ Goku like immediately after the changes, especially the change to 2M. It looks visually weird, but also definitely affects his play a little bit. I personally have not continued to play him, and I barely run into him, so I don't know how much it actually affects him specifically. But there's another thing too, where his stock is kind of lower because there are just other beam options, like literal Kamehameha options. For example, again, Trunks has Masenko as an assist, they could just pick. Yamcha has a beam, Kamehameha, they could just pick. Even characters have C assists that are beams, so like Adult Gohan has a C assist beam, Gotenks have a C assist beam, and it works the same but easier to hit confirm, right? So there's just, as opposed to before, where you had characters who had beams, like 21 had a beam assist, right? And Tien has a beam assist. As far as like the pure like full screen multi-hitting Kamehameha, you only really had Goku and Goku Black. Those were your only choices, and Goku was just the better choice. Now it's way more flexible. His stock on teams are just a lot lower than before. Ginyu being here is being A tier is a kind of interesting thing because there are a lot of characters that beat him, and a lot of these characters that are above him all beat him, like pretty much all beat him. Besides, like, so Vegeta I think beats him, for example, and Frieza I think beats Ginyu, but for the most part all the characters above Ginyu like slaughter him, right? But right now, at least the type of offense that is in the game kind of favors him because Snap is not a really huge deal right now. Level 3s are kind of the go-to. Level 3s and like option coverage on slide knockdown with certain assists. On this channel, even too, because I talk about it a lot of times I'm like, yeah, you know, you can get RPS when you knock people down, so people can like guess when they wake up and like you have to deal with it. You can cover it with assists, but it really depends on the type of assist you have, and you have to build something for it to work. So for example, like Cell is really good at this. Cell, his beam, his A assist just covers both techs. This is why I use season 1 to deal with the multi-techs, right? His just covers both techs. It's very easy to deal with it. But if you have a horizontal beam, it's a little bit less easy. If you don't have any beams and you have Yamcha or something, you need to cover the up tech on your own, and you let Yamcha do the rest. It varies by assist. So the nice thing about Ginyu is that you don't have to worry about that ever. You have the Ginyu Force to do it for you, so then you keep your assists for later, which is really, really strong. And they also finally gave him an actual reversal, because it used to be true oppression session with him. You used to have to just sit there and take it, and you just couldn't do anything. Now he has a level 3, now he can mash, finally. At least he doesn't have to just sit there while people reset you over and over and over. That helps him a lot. I personally think they underrate 18 a little bit. I believe she's probably A+ or S- right now. I think this is a case, and it's going to be a repeating theme, where they don't have a lot of people who play her, so they don't know that much, or they don't get to play against people who are really, really good with her. This has kind of been a theme in DBFZ in general, because each region they just do different shit. Like EU doesn't pick the same teams that US picks, right? US players don't pick the same teams that JP picks, etc., right? We all pick different styles of teams. There's a general baseline, like the meta is the general baseline that drives everything, but there's always been examples of people picking stuff that aren't meta that succeed, right? Z Broly would be one. Base Goku would be another. Even like Ginyu season 1 would be like another. Like these examples constantly exist. 18 and Shanks, right? These examples exist, right? So I feel like this 18 placement is kinda on that lane. The rest of the characters, they kind of make sense, besides 16. So 16, people kind of felt like he was like bottom tier in season 2. So this is actually a pretty big jump up, especially at a glance, to see him grouped with the rest of the general cast. This tier list mostly looks like most of the cast is strong, but these characters like B and below. So 16 being here is actually like nice. It's actually nice. I think it might come from some changes, but also because for example, he has moves that gels into Vanish that he didn't used to have. But also his C assist is actually pretty good as a block stun assist, so it's a little bit more flexible than before. Okay, so now we move on to the lower half of the cast. So the A tier was so big, there was a lot to talk about. The B, C, and D tier combined are smaller than A tier, so I'm kind of just going to group them together. In this, so there are characters that I'm pretty familiar with everyone feeling to be weak, and there are characters that I think don't belong here. So the characters I think at a glance that don't belong here will be Gotenks, Blue Vegeta, Piccolo, and Krillin. At a glance, right? I don't know enough about 17 to be fair, or Videl or Beerus. Krillin I already thought was kind of better than what people gave him credit for in season 2, and now he's better and he's more flexible as well. So I think this one is they don't have a lot of experience against him, and I would put him at least like an A- or a standard A, right? Piccolo, his A assist is kind of nuts, and like I know, so his main thing was obviously like snap offense and snap mix. He lost a lot of his ways of actually like winning games. He was pretty much just a snap character. Like you snap them, if you can do Universal Fuzzy, you do it. He had a special Universal Fuzzy, which is kind of dope. Of course, he had Hell Zone as well, and he has the neutral control. So now it's like a lot of neutral control, but he's good at slide knockdown because of orb, and his assist is great. The fact that you get to fire 2, I think, is really strong. Also, his C assist is really good against jumps. It's an anti-air one, so you can straight up super dash call him, and he'll just track no matter where they are, and he'll bring them straight to the ground, and you continue his offense. So I actually have a pretty high opinion. I kind of think he's like A or A+. I think he's really strong. Blue Vegeta feels kind of nice. I was actually messing around with him a little bit. I haven't practiced him for a while. Like, I didn't get like super in depth, but his toolset feels pretty good. He's got like good anti-airs with Ki Blast and stuff. His assists are kind of questionable, but you know, I think he's better than B at least. Like in season 2, I thought he was really honestly just mediocre. Like he didn't specialize in anything to me personally, and I felt like it was really weak. But this season already, I feel like he's much better than he was. And then there's Gotenks, who I have no idea why they put him in B. Like, he still has ghosts. He's the only character that has snap offense right now because he could cover all the tech timings by himself. His neutral got nerfed, so you can super dash at the Beyblade. That's like a huge thing. But you can't super dash Miracle Punch, and he can cancel them into each other. So you can just like do Miracle Punch, cancel on the Beyblade. I think that's kind of strong. It might be a case of it's difficult to do mix-ups with him on block, not when you hit them. He's one of those characters who, I said this about Season 1 Bardock as well, where once you hit them, it's easy to do mix-ups, but you have to get the hit somehow first. So maybe that's it, but I still think he's a really good character. Probably his biggest outright nerf, I think, is that the hands, the EX Miracle Punch, is +1. That is really sad. They made a lot of moves like this. Like, I didn't mention it, but like Adult Gohan and Teen Gohan's EX legs are both +1 now too. But these characters are airborne, so they will fall and do a jab, and it's much harder to escape that than the Gotenks EX Miracle Punch. Like that. This takes a little practice, but you can super jump and get away from everything, like straight up. It takes a little practice to do, but he kind of has to chase it, to my knowledge, right now. That, I think, is a really huge nerf to him. I guess they were scared of him having too good pressure because it costs half a bar, which makes sense, but that one is pretty rough. Going into C and D tier, we're definitely going to territory where I'm not familiar with these characters. Probably in C, I would say most people will be like, why are Tien and Nappa here? Nappa especially, Nappa is actually kind of getting popular in the US. EU has always been on Nappa. Like this, it actually reminds me of going to like the Spanish World Tour tournament, and a bunch of like the British players were like, you have to play Nappa, LK. You have to play Nappa. Nappa is the future. This is what you want. And now he's got the restand pressure, the restand 50-50s. He could two-touch you pretty reliably. His offense is pretty good. And then there's Tien, who he just got like a ton of buffs, honestly, this patch. So seeing these two here that's pretty surprising. And then of course there's Jiren in D, and this is probably a big shock to US players. I don't know how EU players feel about this, but Jiren has actually gotten a ton of buffs this patch, especially like how much damage he does off stuff. A lot of people said that he was kind of probably the worst character in season 2, so seeing him still in the same place despite the changes is a pretty big surprise. So what they said is that he has problems opening people up, especially if he's in the corner, and hit confirms can be hard, and his assists are good though, but it's not like enough. So his neutral's like pretty good. He's got like the 2S and the 5S, but it's hard to open people up. It's important to open people up in this game. They still have not sped up his command grab, his 5C, to be fast enough. So when Super Broly dropped, people thought his command grab was not fast enough, and it's 24, but 24 is fast enough considering like the animation and how he can hold his buttons, like delay buttons and stuff like that. But Jiren's is just a little bit too slow still. It's still 28. I'm really surprised it's still 28. That alone would probably help him out a lot. Also, you can actually build knockdowns against him to stop them from like guessing. I had to like redo this for my team. Of course, earlier this season I got washed by Jiren online, but it was mostly like I just didn't have setups for stuff, and he was using the parries and guessing right a lot. Usually what happens long term is that you can cover these, you can defend yourself against these, and it's kind of a struggle, especially when you're getting up. Like if you're blocking stuff, you can still do like defend well, and his EX parry is really strong, I think. But at least they think it's not enough. Okay, so surprisingly, I ended up talking about way more characters than I thought I would, but hopefully this insight helped y'all a little bit. Again, this is not my opinion. This is 3 Japanese players. I'll have their video again in the description below. It's all in Japanese though, so if you don't understand it, it's just ASMR, I guess. It's kind of interesting to see the tiers like split up this far. I wouldn't really expect that. Again, I think a lot of people think the tiers are really close this time. Once again, as usual, if you have any questions, leave them in the comments, like and subscribe if you feel like it, and I'll see you next time. Peace out.